Hello, everyone. This is Jim Ransom with another episode of Morning Jim. It's a Saturday again. I always do this on Saturday. And we're having another episode of Poetry Readings. I'm sitting where I have a view of my daughter's beautiful rose garden. I wish I could show it to you, but this picture over my shoulder that was painted by my granddaughter Andrea gives you a pretty good idea of what it's like here. And today, Laurel is hosting the local Rose Society later this afternoon, and I'm planning to lie low during that time. I don't even know the names of most of the species of roses we have, and I wouldn't be any help whatsoever. Instead of dealing with roses today in poetry, since I've already admitted a lot of poetic ignorance about roses, I'm going to read some poems I've written, but which have never been published, dating between 2016 and 2019. These poems cover different subjects and are not an interconnected series by any means. The first is about a usually unheralded part of the medical care routine, and that's the phlebotomist on the medical team. Phlebotomist, of course, is the person who draws the blood from your arm. And in this case, when I had this blood drawn, this was back in 2016, I was not in a good mood. This is about me, and I rejected the first candidate sent to be the vampire, so the head phlebotomist was called in to do battle. And she was so effective in calming me down and drawing my blood. I thought she deserved a poetic description. And so I've got this poem right here, if I can just get hold of it. It's called Phlebotomist. Ruth, in her own strange ways, creates the interface between strict science and understanding the humanity of victims. Her purpose is to get our blood, but not as a vampire, mundanely for a lab to ponder, to submit to math and science. Eye makeup stretching nearly to her temples must have taken an hour to install. The tight cornrows of her hair are blonde. Blue lips fascinate. Speak softly and with care, cajoling an unwilling arm cautiously extended, not happy with the orders of the doctors, none of whom are here to explain, to rationalize a need not felt now by this patient, not so patient in his victim mode. But Ruth, intently focused on his face, while he observes her sculpted nails in wonder, carefully explain what needs to be done, unhurried. She is a calm as sea in a day of storms, slender and loving behind her hypnotic mask. I think that's a good description of this lovely young woman who has got the ability to hypnotize the unwilling patient, if you want to know, and get them to cooperate without any fuss whatsoever. Well, as you can guess, this was a real person and a real experience, and I've said that already. And you can tell by what I've said about the phlebotomist that it's not only doctors who need to have a good bedside manner. Next, I'll offer up a tongue-in-cheek version of how and why we die. It's called ghosts. Nana Daisy said that her friend gave up the ghost last Sunday. And then, not long after, when she discarded an ancient electric mixer, it finally gave up the ghost. The boy in me wondered what ghosts are. Must they be fed noodles and meats? Electricity from the wall made the mixer go. I knew my ghost must like ice cream, apples, and candy. Burdened now by age and detritus of degrees, I'm reminded of those old questions of ghosts, spirits, geists, spiritus. These essences, the truly functioning part of life, making the kidneys strain the blood, the liver's manifest duties oversee, and the teeth bite. Sophisticated now, I see the mixer dies only by analogy. But what of the elephant, the lobster, or the priest? Life exists only while the ghost, the spirit, stays in place and is pleased by its corporeal habitation. The ghost decides what suits it, is my guess. And death, which comes when it will come, is when the ghost, perhaps displeased with books, diet, sermons, bad news, or television choices, oozes away to another, more hopeful realm. I don't know. Ghosts are a part of our lore, and so they have been explained in many ways, and that's just one. Now, this next one is a change of pace. It's called $5 Friday. And you've been very patient if you're still with me. This poem here is going to be familiar to those of you who live in Topeka, Kansas. It is describing the entrance to Porterfield's Flowers, where bargain bouquets appear on Fridays, or used to, and I think they probably still do. So it's called $5 Friday. Usually I forget. I forget to go buy my $5 Friday bouquet at the shop around the corner, the one with the fountain in front, holding a corpulent Cupid and a wet dolphin. I tell myself the flowers are remembrances, and that is certainly true to a point. But I love the surprises. The new blooms, the yellows, greens, purples, whites, and all the others, different every week. I'm told they come mostly from Colombia. That news makes me want to go to Colombia and see these flowers growing in the fields. Such an excess of beauty seems profligate where I live, afflicted as we are with Japanese beetles and a profusion of bud-eating caterpillars. I've never been to Colombia, but in my dreams I see vast fields that bloom, where there are no bees to sting visitors, and no mosquitoes hiding and biting. I'd want to have a cup of Colombian coffee while I swallow the view and the drink. My dreams are like my Friday flowers. I'm lucky if they last a week. Yeah, that's $5 Friday. Now, you've continued to be patient and listen to my poetic efforts. Here's a poem I wrote about raising chickens, but it may really be about raising children, or both. You decide. I got the idea for this poem from my favorite and longest lasting employee, Linda, who was my medical assistant from the time that she was 18 until she was at least 50 years old. I thought I'd give her a break, so I retired. Free range. When the chicks arrived, chirping fluff balls, living in a cardboard box beneath a warming light, Linda's daughters loved the little creatures, to gently hold and feel the tiny claws and bills, soon to be ranging free under the care of old Banty, and follow trails of ground corn to the chicken boxes at night, locked away from feral cats and foxes. They grew, and the girls gave some favorites names like Chuck E. Cheese and Dan and Katie. They found their stray nests and gathered eggs of brown and pastel green and dappled white, which Mama carefully inserted in old egg cartons. So the summer went along with daily chores and watching out for hawks and owls and other pests, now learning the attractions of a chicken's nest. But after a season or so, these former chicks, old hens, stopped laying well. The eggs were far between and small. Linda said she'd make a chicken stew. Matter of fact, she was about it too, and sharpened her knives. It dawned on the girls just what chicken stew contained. So when the day came, they were maudlin and pouting, and would not be instructed in the coming end of Katie. Mama shrugged and told them where she'd be. Aunt Sandy, renowned for chocolate cookies, was coming in to help. The girls pondered the sounds as the morning wore on, and bored in dark bedrooms, frowning but hoping for a treat. They came upon the interesting sight of cleaning chickens, and were immersed in the always existential question of whether these were gizzards and these were hearts. And this is how they learned the chicken's parts. They later learned that there will be a time when things once new, like calves, turn into cows, and boys are men, and girls turn into women, plucking out the white hairs and the gold. The bright of day becomes the dark of night, and smiles and frowns together make up wrinkles. Growing up on farms can teach a knowledge of essences beyond the scope of college. Well, that's free range. And as you can hear, it's like that in the world of chickens and farms. And I guess that's why so many of the young women today who want to raise free-range chickens never get beyond the first summer or maybe two before they give it up for more pleasant things. When I was a boy during World War II, my mother, especially when she ran low on ration cards or ration stamps or whatever they were, Went to a farmer friend out in the country and brought home hens. And my brother and I gathered up all our little boyfriends and some of the girls in the neighborhood and watched my mother chop the heads off the chickens that then went running around the yard in an awful quandary. And the little girls screamed, but not leaving. They watched the end of the chickens, and they began to realize where food came from. I think the lessons of the farm are very good for that purpose. That's it for today. Blessings to all of you, and I hope you'll join me again soon. If you can get over the bloody outcomes today. I'm currently reading a history book called Only Yesterday that was written in the 1930s by Frederick Lewis Allen. I suspect some of you may have read it. I got it from my grandson, who is quite a student of history. It has inspired me to read some poems from the World War II era and the Roaring '20s, and that will be our subject for next week. Have a good go of it during the coming week, and I'll see you later. Bye now.